Some people have seen where God has brought you from. You don't really understand it. They don't know your story.
You don't know
The things.
Good evening, Jex family, here in the UK and all around the world. How you all doing? Welcome to Michelle Hemmings' Organ Donation Life Stories. Okay, today is the first anniversary of the new law change, which means that every adult in the UK is now automatically on the organ donor register list. As you know, I was one of those people who was waiting for that organ, and I am truly grateful to God, to the Royal Papworth Hospital, and to my donor. Just like to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, we have got a very special guest behind the scenes, and I can't wait for you all to meet her. Her name is Primrose Granville. Welcome, Primrose.
On your show. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm delighted to be here on the first anniversary of the law change. When I set the date, I didn't even realize it was this date, but it's designed by God, really.
It come round quick, innit?
Yes.
The first anniversary.
Yes.
Okay, so how are you doing? How are you? How was your day?
My day has been fantastic. It started at 4 a.m. because I woke up with excitement because I've done podcasts and I just couldn't sleep anymore. I had to wake up and deal with the fact that today was the launch of the first podcast.
Okay, I need to hear. Have you got a recording of that?
Yes, we have a recording of it, but my technical skills, I have to wait for the technical team to do stuff because I don't touch anything because it will just break.
Okay, I understand. Okay, can you just tell everyone your full name and whereabout in Birmingham you live?
Right, so my full name is Primrose Granville. I don't live in Birmingham, though I've been there quite a few times and I have family there. I actually live in Bristol in the southwest of England.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, can you tell us a little bit about your transplant story?
Right, so my transplant story, my personal transplant story started on sometime in May 1997 when I was told I had polycystic kidney disease. Fast forward to 2017, the 30th of November, I was told that I have end-stage renal failure, and that they were going to they're going to speed up stuff, prepare me for dialysis and all those things. I went on the transplant list on the 16th of May, 2018. No, the 16th of May 2018, and I got a transplant 6 months and 1 day later on the 17th of November. Prior to that, and I can't tell my transplant story unless I tell that of my entire family. So my mother had polycystic kidney disease, and it was when I had my own diagnosis in 1997 that I knew what she had. She was on dialysis for almost 14 years. That's how long she waited for a transplant, and she got one on the 4th of January 2004, which lasted her all the way to her death last year. So I come from a family with hereditary polycystic kidney disease. My mother passed it on to my eldest sister, who also had a transplant on October 12th, 2015. I think it's October 12th, August 12th, 2015. My mother had hers on 4th of January 2004, as I said. My sister waited nearly 10 years for her transplant. My mother nearly 14. So my experience of transplantation and especially dialysis, was quite traumatic. On top of that, my first and only child, that little man there that doesn't look like that anymore, he's 6'4". He also has polycystic kidney disease. I found out when he was 9. Well, I insisted on finding out because I knew the history and I wanted to know so that I could prepare him from an early age. So one day he might need a transplant. I've had many, many family members. I did my genealogy and found out that the trait came from my grandmother, my maternal grandmother. Together with her husband, they had 9 children. So that's 9 times a family, a generational family, where growing up in Jamaica, I always had cousins and uncles. My uncles all died young. Nobody told you what they died from. Them dropped down and did. I had a cousin who died. I asked what killed her. She had kidney sickness. And all the time I found out from 1990 that my mother had kidney sickness. When I knew what was wrong with her, she told me she had the kidney sickness. It wasn't even a diagnosis that I could work with. It was the kidney sickness. She never told me what she had really. And I was always going to the hospital with her. But as we are Caribbean people, we don't ask our parents their business. It's just not the done thing.
That's true.
But it wasn't until I sat in front of her consultant in May 1997 and he told me what I had. And I looked at him and I said, "Is that what my mom's got?" And he said, "You don't know?" I said, "No." He said, "But you live at the hospital with her. You're here with her all the time." I said, "Dr. Thompson, all she ever tell me she have the kidney sickness." And I think he was very shocked because I don't think he understood the lack of communication when it came to health issues among his patients from African and Caribbean heritage. Because he just, most people tell you what they've got. You tell your daughter what you've got, wouldn't you? I tell my son what I have. If I have a headache, I tell him I have a headache on the left side of my head. I don't think of hiding things. But our parents are from a different generation, and that's what it was for them. So for me, I was conditioned to wait years for a kidney. So when they called me on the 17th of November, the same year I was put on the transplant list, my first words to them is, "No, you have it wrong. It's too soon." Those were my actual first words. And these are transplant nurses and, renal team members who know my whole family because we all go to the same hospital. We all get treated at the same hospital, Southmead Hospital in Bristol, and they're just the superstars in our lives. So they all knew me. So I was talking to a nurse who knew me. She knew me as the one who would read. I would read stuff. I basically know everything. So when she's talking to me and saying to me, "Yeah, it's no, it's too soon. It's only been 6 months and a day." And she's like, "Primrose, but no, this one's for you." "No, you've got it wrong. It's too soon." And I'm literally arguing with the lady saying to her, "No, you got it wrong. It's too soon." Because in the back of my head, I'm supposed to wait a couple of years at least. And when she finally got me to say yes, I started asking her the dumbest of questions. I mean, I got called for my transplant 2 weeks after being in hospital. I knew where the ward was. I knew the number of every bed and every room. So here I am saying to her, "Where am I going?" And she's saying, "Southmead, Primrose." And I'm like, "Which ward?" "Primrose, 8B. And I'm like, "Is anyone there to wait? Is there anyone waiting for me?" "Yes, they're expecting you. Do you have a bag packed?" "I don't know. I had a bag packed. I was probably standing in front of it." But I just turned into an idiot, not because they called me for a transplant and I was so overjoyed, but because somewhere in the back of my head, I wasn't supposed to get a transplant in 6 months because that doesn't happen to Black people.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
It was
Just trying
unbelievable.
to take it in.
And I just tried to take it in. And when I called my friends and I called my neighbor, together they came within minutes. I think my friend must have driven 100 miles an hour from her house. And they came and they calmed
That's a
me
good
down.
friend.
Yeah. They were both here. And she said, "Where are your car keys? Clearly, you're not going to drive." I'm like, "Are we going to take the bus?" I was just really, I don't know. I can't remember. These are things they tell me. And I said to her, "I need to go have a long, full shower." She said, "Well, the nurse told you that you're going to have a surgical shower. Why you need to have a long, full shower? You just wake up." They call me minutes to 9 in the morning. "Where have you been to be dirty and smelly?" And I'm like, "No, I've got to have a shower." And I went and I had a shower. And she just...
You're just buying time, wasn't you? You're just buying time.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. And then I got dressed and she said, "Right, I have your bag. Can we go now?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I need to call my mom and I need to call my sister. She said, can we do that while you're in the car? You're not driving, you can be on your phone. And she
Okay.
basically heralded me into the car. And I remember going there, and one of the things I've experienced as a family member of people who've been waiting for transplants is
Mm-hmm.
the actual act of going, being called for the organ, turning up, going through that testing process, and a couple of
Yeah.
hours later they tell you it's not a match. I have been through that
Yeah.
more
I
times.
was there.
And one of the
I
things
was
I
there
learned
twice.
is the medical staff, there's something about their eyes that tell you that it's not yours. They don't
Yeah.
look at you directly. They avert your stare, and they kind of look over the top of your head until they
Mm-hmm.
deliver the news to you. That's when they look at you. So when I went in for this, I absolutely hate needles. By the time the doctor got there, it was after 11. He was taking the blood test, and I saw him come with these 4 great big old vials, and I'm like, where are you going with that? Well, 8. It was actually
Okay.
8. He said, I'm going to take blood from you. I said, where are you going to take blood from me to put in them vials? You know what my veins are like. And I was now, by now I was joking. And my son was there, my friend was there, and everybody was there. Kind of like
Okay.
watching. And the doctor who the vials were taken to be tested is now actually my son's consultant, because he's the young
Mm-hmm.
people's consultant, and he's young and hip and happening, always smiley face. And I remember when he came up the hallway after he'd taken those tests away, I kept searching for his eyes. And he looked
Okay.
straight at me with that look as
Mm-hmm.
if to say, you're on a roll. He didn't smile. He didn't change his facial features. He just had
Okay.
that look as if to say, this is yours. And I remember being in that car beside my friend who's quite level-headed. By then I'd
Mm-hmm.
sort of calmed down and taken stock of where I was and what was happening. And I started saying, listen, God, this is because they were talking about dialysis. Dialysis was something that
Yeah.
crippled me. I watched what it did to my mother for so long. I nearly buried
Mm-hmm.
my mother 3 times. So it's like, I'm thinking, the only thing I can't cope with is dialysis. I could have coped with anything else, Michelle. I could have coped
Mm-hmm.
with the thought that I was going to die. I could have coped with this. I can cope with the surgery. I could cope with
Mm-hmm.
being in hospital. However many days there is, I just get jiggy with the taste bad mashed potato and the so-called meat. I just couldn't handle dialysis.
How
Anything
many
else you
days was
could
you on? How
for
many days was you
dialysis,
on dialysis? How many
I, ne-
days?
I never had dialysis ever.
Oh, okay.
And when
Oh,
I
you're
when I was
good
put
then.
on the transplant list, I prayed for 3 things, and I
Yeah.
seriously prayed for these three things, and then I worked for it. I said, God,
Okay.
I beg you, no dialysis.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make me wait too long. And
Okay.
please, can I have a kidney that is younger than I am? I literally would lay in my bed at night, praying out loud, asking for those things. My son was in and out of the house as a youngster. He often didn't hear me making this noise, but he said he heard me talk sometimes, and he'd ask me if I'm talking to myself. I said, no, I'm praying. He said, oh, because I hear you. And he knew. He said, Mommy, you're always in here talking about dialysis, and I think you're on the phone. When really it was when I was praying, because dialysis ravaged my mother and it ravaged my
Okay.
sister, and it terrified me. It crippled me with fear. And it's the
Okay.
one thing I didn't want in my own life. I didn't want my son to see me suffer like that.
How old is your son now?
He turned 22 last month.
Ah,
He's a 22
big
year old
man.
big baby. Yeah, and he's an only
Big
boy. He's
man.
an only child, so he's big
Okay.
baby.
Ah, that's lovely.
Thank
Is he
you.
listening? Is he listening to you?
I sent him the link. He said he's going to be in some
Okay.
kind of lab, but he'll listen to it later, and then he'll come back and tell me all the
Okay.
things that made him laugh. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go on to the next question then. Have you had any other health challenges since your transplant? And tell us a bit about them, please.
So let me tell you, first and foremost, I do, but I wouldn't swap them any day for dialysis. Having these
Okay.
health challenges is nothing compared to having my kidney.
I
So
know.
in in February last year, they said to me I developed diabetes. I went through the motions. I was put on metformin in March, and I was just
Yeah.
really, really sick the whole time. In April, the day
Mm-hmm.
after my son's birthday, I was so unwell because on his
Okay.
birthday, I spoke because he's in the University of Cornwall. So we spoke, and I remember speaking to him for his birthday. It was about after 2. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember waking up at 6 o'clock thinking, my phone's rang twice, but I don't remember anything. I remember speaking to him,
Okay.
but I don't remember anything in between.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going to the bathroom, and the bathroom was dirty, and I'm the only one in the house. And I thought, you've been to the loo, but you don't even
Yeah.
remember. And I thought that was odd. And I
Yes.
hadn't been feeling too good. And my friends kept saying to me, Primrose, call the ambulance. No, it's COVID. I don't want to go hospital.
Oh,
And
that's
the
true.
next day, I felt really ill. And my friend came round, and she said to me,
Yeah.
she said, if you don't call, I am. So she sat
Ah.
beside me, and I called, and I was telling the
Mm-hmm.
nurse, and this is where inequality in health provision for Black women comes in. I was telling my
Okay.
diabetes nurse how I felt, and the woman practically said to me, no, you have type 2 diabetes. You can't have any of those symptoms. You can't be feeling dizzy. You can't be feeling confused. You couldn't have lost 4 hours
Okay.
of just sleeping. Yeah, she literally told me all these things. So she said to me, and I
Hmm.
said, can I not have my blood sugar checked? No, you've got type 2 diabetes. You don't need a blood sugar checking. You're not getting a blood sugar.
Wow.
It's all about money, and you're not entitled. And I said, but I don't want you to give me a blood sugar monitor. I want to have my blood tested. Can I buy a monitor? You can buy one if you want. She never once offered me any advice about what I could do when I got the monitor. When I got the monitor, I
See,
sat on
we
the
know
blood.
how we feel. We know
We
how
know.
we feel, and we know what we want.
Thank you. Thank you. And when
Mm.
I got 2 monitors. My friend sent me one, and I bought one for myself. And I sat there, this same table I'm on, I just laid them out on the table thinking, what am I to do next? I didn't have a clue what to do. I didn't know what it meant to test your blood sugar. I'd never done it
Mm-hmm.
before. And
Mm-hmm.
fast forward to May 14th, I ended up in hospital. Um,
Okay.
Very nearly expired, only to be told that I don't have
Wow.
type 2 diabetes. I have ketosis prone diabetes, also known as flatbush diabetes, which is a killer form of diabetes. It dehydrates you to the point where your brain stops working. And
Oh
that's
my
what I was going
gosh.
through. So for 3 weeks after talking to this woman, I was in my house. I was black and blue all over because I was bouncing into the walls and the furniture, and literally falling over. I already have mobility issues from an
Oh
accident I
my
had. So
God.
my house is full of all kind of grab rails, so I could grab and help
Yeah.
myself. But I was bumping
Mm-hmm.
into things, and I called my friend on the 14th of May, and she said, "Listen, you call the ambulance." And I still didn't want to call them, so I called my pharmacist, who's very, very
Okay.
supportive. And
Yes.
he said to me, this is not you. You do not sound like this. That's not how you normally sound. He said, call 111 and ask them if you have something acidosis, where I was ingesting too much sugar. I can't remember the actual word.
Okay.
And when I
Okay.
called the lady on 111, she said, no, I'm going to send an ambulance for you because I don't
Yes.
like the way you sound. And the ambulance came in, I think, 3 minutes. I didn't, because I
Wow. That
was
was
so
quick.
ill the night before. I didn't even have a shower, and I'm really fussy about having a shower or a wash. So I took my
Mm-hmm.
time, and I crawled into the shower, sat on the floor with the water
Okay.
beating the necessary places. So I'm thinking, as sick as I was, I'm thinking, I'm not going in there smelling funny. And
I hear you. I hear you.
you know what I mean? I pulled on my pajamas to the point where they were wet on me. And
Okay.
when they pulled up, my neighbor came over because she's got a key, and she let them in. She said, I didn't even know Primrose was ill. And they came and they took me in, and they were trying to say to me, we need to take you in. And I'm like, but I don't want to go in. It's COVID. And then I
Yeah.
could see the eyes of the paramedic, where I said to him, he said, we can't force you, but I really would advise you to go. And I kind of looked in his face, and I thought, he's telling me something I don't know, but I
Yeah.
need to go. So I went.
Yes.
It took them 19 attempts to find a vein that had blood in it to do one blood test.
Oh
19
my
attempts in
gosh.
2.5 hours. They had to pump me with water. warm my veins, and get an ultrasound machine to find one little trickle of blood to do a test before they could send me
You were
upstairs.
so lucky.
I was so dehydrated, I would be a goner 2 days later. That's literally what
You went
was
in
said.
the right time. You went
I
in the
went,
right time then.
so from that, I've developed this form of diabetes, which I'm now living with. They say it can be temporary, and I've been
Yeah.
fighting. The hardest part of having this condition is that I eat more fruit and veg. If I eat anymore, I'm going to grow some shoots and some leaves.
Same here.
And,
Same
and
here.
I couldn't reconcile, Michelle, with how do I get diabetes when I eat so healthily? I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't have
Yeah.
a sweet tooth. If I'm going to eat something sweet, it's going to be a fruit. I hate rice. I'm a Jamaican. I don't like rice. Yeah, let me say it now. I don't like rice. I'm stew peas and rice because I just don't like rice. I don't like dumpling. I
Okay.
pick out the middle and eat the crust. I
I
don't
love
like.
my dumpling. I love
I
my
know
dumpling. Oh
every
gosh.
Jamaican family member love them dumpling. It's a Caribbean thing, but I don't. From I'm a child, I have a sweetness for have a sweetness for bread. I like bread, but
Okay.
I wasn't
Okay.
eating a lot. I wasn't eating since my transplant. I wasn't eating a lot, and the weight was just going up. And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
but you're not eating any food. You're eating like a bird, and you're just putting on the weight. And what it was the, we take the steroids, the prednisolone. So the
Yes.
prednisolone
Same here.
was forcing up my weight. So you know all about this stuff, Michelle.
Yes.
So I picked that up, and with all the complications that come with that, I had to go on insulin. I was in hospital. I went in hospital twice. In May for 6 days, and then in June again for 2 days. And I
Okay.
was just really, really unwell, and I just had lots of headaches, and I still do, but I'm now kind of accustomed to the condition, and I know what to do, what not to do, and all that stuff.
Yes. Because
Yeah.
I'm a diabetic, as you know, and that was brought on by induced steroids.
Yes.
So I'm hoping they'll take me off my steroids and I'll be diabetes free.
Yeah.
But it just takes time, doesn't it?
Yes, and I must be on the unlucky side, and I don't know how much I can share, but I am going to share because I have developed conditions that are quite embarrassing. So one of the rare side effects of being on steroids, if you're
Yeah.
female, is you can develop something called super thrush, and that's just
Yes.
really wonderful to have. It's horrible. And I'm thinking, I remember saying to the doctor, but I'm not in a relationship and I'm not nasty. Why would I have, what's this super thrush? And she's like, no, Primrose, it's got nothing to do with your hygiene practices. But what you telling me I got super thrush? I've not had a boyfriend for nearly 4 years. And she's, but it's not. And I'm like, no, how do I tell my friends I've got super thrush?
I
Come
know.
on.
I
And
know.
it's
I
not
know.
even
It's
just thrush,
embarrassing, isn't it?
it's super thrush. And
I
then
know.
this one-off tablet that makes you sick, and I'm like, what the heck? What have I done to this?
I
And
know.
I'm
It's just
thinking
one of
to
the
myself,
side effects that we suffer. It's
you
one
know
of the
what I
side
mean?
effects that we suffer, isn't it? Yeah.
And every
It's not
morning I
nice at all.
take this little tablet and a half, Michelle, and I'm just cussing them. I'm like, you're what's causing all the hell in my life. You've given me diabetes, you've given me this, and then every side effect, Michelle, comes with another dose of medication. And they tell us too many drugs can ruin our kidneys, and I'm thinking, are they going to make the one little kidney fail? But
Yeah.
the icing, like I said, I wouldn't change any of it because I have a kidney that is all I can describe her as is she fires nothing but shots. She's just super amazing. And I
Okay.
named her the day I got her. I named her Diamond Lily. And this,
Okay.
I knew she was going to be this tough flower that would just open up and blossom and just be the most amazing thing in my life. And I'm so grateful for her. I've written to my donor family. I didn't hear back from them. But guess what? I will hear from them one day because they have to know how grateful I am for the gift that they have given me.
Definitely. I'd just like to say thank you to Donna. She's saying that she loves your story and your testimonial.
Thank you,
And
Donna.
from the and from the GX radio as well. There's a saying, thank you for sharing.
Thank you. I can see the
Now,
little messages pop up. Yeah.
Now
Thank you.
listen, our time is running out now, so I'd just like you to tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you before we go. But I'm gonna promise you this. I'm gonna bring you back on because there's so much to tell, and thank you for being here. But if you could tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you in case what got any questions to ask you.
So you can find me on Facebook under Primrose Granville. I'm on Twitter at Miss Prim. My Instagram page is at Miss Prim Speaks. I just this morning launched my podcast, and my podcast is called Podcasting for Our Health. Or you can look
Okay.
for it under the hashtag the accidental campaigner, because all my campaigning has been done by accident. So I didn't realize
Great.
time
Thank
was
you.
gone. Thank you, Michelle. Thank
That's
you.
okay. Listen, we've all got a story to tell. I've got a lot to tell as well. You know, it's not an hour worth of story. For me, it's 22 years of my transplant journey, and you've got more to tell. But I am going to bring you back on. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being one of my special guests.
Thank
And
you.
I'd like to thank all my listeners out there for taking the time for listening and taking in the information. So it's goodbye from myself and goodbye from Prim. Let's say goodbye, Prim.
Goodbye. Thanks everybody for listening, and thank you for the messages. Warms my heart.
Ah, thank you. Just want to say a little inspirational scripture from Psalms 23, verse 5 to 6. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye,
Bye.
Prim. Thank you.
Bye. Bye, Michelle.
Thank you.
How do I come out of this? Oh, there was a chat.
Some people have seen where God has brought you from. They don't really understand it. They don't know your story.
You don't know
The
my
things.
story.
Some people have seen where God has brought you from. They don't really understand it. They don't know your story.
You don't know
The
my
things.
story.
Some people have seen where God has brought you from. They don't really understand it.
Women all over the UK and abroad. Join us at our National Women's Conference and redig the wells. Release, renew, restore, recover your prophetic mantle and voice. Redig the wells and reposition for revival. Come and join us. We have a packed program of inspirational speakers, including Dr. Cindy Trimm.